Hey, what is up, everyone? This is Lucas. I'm just going to be doing a little bit of editing. I've got a couple little photos to go through and edit, so I thought I'm just gonna start a live session, and I might as well just stream it. It's going to be nothing too crazy, just a very regular properties. I think I might have some couple of external photos that I might go through. I'll see how it goes. And basically, I've already kind of prepared the files in Capture One, and I've exported them into TIFF files, and then brought them into stacks in Photoshop. So I'll be going through a couple of them today. I think the stream will probably be around, I don't know, hour, maybe hour and a half, something like that. We'll see what we can do in that time. So without further ado, let's jump into some editing. And obviously I'll be trying to narrate what I'm doing. I'm not going to be changing names of the layers just to save a little bit of time, but I'll try and basically explain what each layer does. Okay, so that's our first shot here. I've got my ambient layer on top. I'm just going to change the mode to luminosity. And for your basic blend, it's pretty much almost done here if I just drop the opacity. There's a couple areas that would need fixing, but in general, that's the whole idea. I'm just going to reverse order of the layers here. And I'm gonna, basically I took a couple of frames here that cover areas where we had the hot spots. So as you can see, there's a hot spot here and a little bit here on the left-hand side. So I've got some angles here with my flash to kind of cover that. Let me just drop the flow. It's a bit too high at 100. Let's see what else we have here. So this area is a little bit brighter. And this is basically Flambient, so it's going to be really... I'm not too bothered too much about making it super moody. Again, this is just for real estate photo shoot. Let's see. Hey, Peter. Yeah, to be honest, it's night here as well. The kids and wife are asleep, so that allows me to do some stuff here. Okay, do we actually need this layer here? Maybe just on the countertop here a little bit. Just trying to basically take the best parts of the image here. That looks decent. And I might actually use this one in lighten mode. Let's see. No, I think I prefer it in normal. I'm just going to drop my flow to 10% and dab a little bit here. Okay, so that's our basic flash blend. I'm just going to group everything. I'm going to create a hue saturation adjustment and go into color range. I've actually, from my previous time, it's already pre-selected whites. I think the selection is pretty decent. I'm just going to add a little bit here. Press OK. I'm just going to create a mask already on the hue saturation, and I'm just going to drop the saturation. We're kind of losing the color in the cabinets, but actually that's pretty good because there's obviously a little bit of a orange cast coming from the kitchen tops and so on. So if I increase it, obviously you can see a lot of yellows here. So I kind of like it that way. I'll drop it maybe 30%. And I think that's pretty much basic blend done. Let's put a mask on our ambient layer. Just going to paint that in. Need to increase my flow a little bit, just so we get more of that ambient here. Let's see, I'm not even a fan of those shadows here. I'm just going to take this out. What I often like to do is dropping a curves adjustment, clipping it to the ambient layer only, and dropping shadows and kind of around mids, and then increasing highlights just to give it a little bit of a punch. That looks decent. Let's create a new layer. I'm just gonna call it fixes. Let's grab our, I think we're gonna go with the healing brush really. I'm just going to remove those reflections here. I really don't need them. It's a pretty fast job. Easy to do as well. Just trying to remove those reflections a little bit. We don't really need them. Okay, this is from our ambient here. And yeah, I think that looks decent. We obviously have a tripod leg here. I'm going to, let's see, might actually use the remove tool here. Let's give it a go. So do a selection around that. Oh, it didn't add it on. It's not the best. It's got the texture, but the color is not there. I'm gonna kind of deal with that in a moment. Let's go back to healing brush just to fix that little part here. I mean that that oven is not very clean. I think they did a refurbishment here. I think they replaced the kitchen basically. I don't think they've cleaned it very well. Yeah, I mean, I could spend ages here trying to fix that. I'm not going to bother. Let's see if we can use our clone stamp here. And there's a few things that are bothering me. Those things here. And these little particles. I think the rest from far away doesn't look bad. There's another little area here. Let's just do a quick fix. And okay, as I said, looks like the pattern here is okay, but the color is not right. So I'm just going to create a new layer. Let's call it color. Let's change the blending mode to color. Grab my brush. I'm just going to sample the color from here. Let's paint it in. Can kind of, if you look at it properly, you can kind of see that's a little bit of a problem there, but it's nothing major. Yeah, I think that's fine. Obviously, I could work on a couple things here, remove that, but to be honest, no one's going to really pay attention to that. And that looks decent. What I like to do is drop my Nick collection color effects. I think I've got a little preset there. If we just use it once, then we can just use that filter on the other ones. Okay, I don't need that layer anymore. So that added a little bit of punch. I'm just gonna drop opacity to 65%. I think that looks decent. Yeah, let me save that. And let me open the next file here. Where is it? Here. So I'm just grabbing the file. Okay, that's just the next angle here. Let's drop that into luminosity blending mode. I guess maybe this one's going to be our base. I'm just going to drop it on the bottom. Let's see what we have. Okay, obviously we have the hotspot on the fridge here, so I'm just going to try and get rid of it. Yeah, that layer is a little bit dark. Do we have anything else there? Okay. These are all the layers I had. Let's see if we have something to get rid of that shadow area here. We could, I can see here, so let's paint it in. Okay. Yeah, that's not bad. So this one might need adjustment, just to add a little bit of brightness. I think it's a little bit darker here. Doesn't need much. Okay, let me put everything in the group. And usual hue saturation, color range. And we're going to do a similar thing here. Drop it a little bit. Okay, this one is a little bit more aggressive than the last one, I think. Okay, I'm going to add it to the group, add a white mask. And to be honest, sorry if it's going a little bit fast, I've got my own shortcuts to add different masks, black mask, white ones, and so on. Just going to do a rough selection around those shelves. I don't want to desaturate them too much, and they seem to be being desaturated quite a bit. So let's see what we can do. Yeah, as you can see, I'm doing a very kind of a rough selection around here. We don't need super accurate one for this, because even if we would desaturate it a bit, it's not a big deal. So now I'm going to press Control and Backspace, and it's going to fill that area with black. So it's going to remove it from our desaturation. So we're only affecting now the walls and the cabinets. So that's decent. We've got our luminosity. I'm just going to add a black mask. And let's see. Okay, it's decent. Yeah, I think in general you want the ambient layer to be quite bright. But I think this one actually was a little bit too bright, and you can see it's starting to wash out. The look is a little bit washed out in some of the areas. On the countertop here, for example. Now I do want to have that ambient there, so that's why I quite often add curves and I clip them to ambient layer. And I like to drop basically the midtones as well, so it drops kind of most of the ambient, and then erase a little bit of the highlights, and that helps a little bit. And then the usual stuff, let's add fixes layer. Let's press J for a healing brush and quickly get rid of those hot spots. So in theory you could just take one flash here from behind the camera, and even if you have a hotspot, you can just use the healing brush to remove it. Those surfaces are super easy to to clean with the healing brush. Yeah. Okay, we don't really have crazy tripod legs here, just the one here. So I like using the remove tool right now. It's quite fast and works well. So let's see what it comes up with. Okay, I think I'm just gonna leave it at that. Okay, there's one more kind of a light spot here. Let's go back to healing brush. Yeah, I think we're good here. Let's group that. I'll merge everything into new layer, and then in filters I'll just use my last filter here. So it's gonna use the same one I did in the previous photo. Okay, that's pretty decent. I'll maybe drop that to 80%. Let's save that. And let's open the next photo here. Okay, this was actually quite small, 2-bedroom apartment. The bedrooms were like really, really tiny. You'll see the next one as well. Okay, I took one frame here for the windows. We've got our ambient layer, and I was actually shooting with lights on. So I typically actually like to shoot without the lights and then take a couple of frames with the lights on that I can paint in later on if I need to. But since this one was a little bit of a under time constraints, I had to be fast, so I just left the lights on and relied on having the flash deal with it. So we have our base frame here. Yeah, you can see there's a lot of stuff happening here with in terms of the colors on the wall and color casts. All right, let's see. Just trying to get rid of that shadow as much as possible. Still going to be here, but yeah, we'll deal with that later. Okay, this one's even a little bit better. Okay, basically remove that nasty shadow. So that should help us with blending. Yeah, I don't really think we need that layer. Maybe just a little bit. It's kind of a bright here on the edge of the photo. So, okay, let's group that as usual. Hue, saturation, color range. I'm just going to manually re-add the ceiling. Let's see what we get. Yeah, I think let's do that. I'm going to add it into a group. Let's put a black mask, grab my polygonal lasso tool, and I'm just going to do a selection here. That is decent. So that's why I like not merging any layers and not working that way, because I can always go back. So I'm looking at the shadow here on this, obviously is messed up. So what I want to do is check if I have a layer that would eliminate it. So it looks like this one might, and I'm pressing shift while clicking on the mask, and that basically disables it for a moment. So this is really the only one we can use. So let's see if we can fix it a little bit using our flash layer here. So I'm just going to paint that in. It kind of removes it a little bit. but I think we still need to do work on that after that luminosity. So let's add a new layer. I'm gonna call it color here again. Change blending mode to color. Fix that lamp a little bit here. Might as well paint a little bit of that wall. It's got a little bit of the greenish tint to it. So you can see I'm being fairly crude here. But it still works pretty okay. You don't really see much problems. Trying to match the color of that lamp here so it's not as desaturated. Okay. I think we fixed the colors. Yeah, why not? We can do the fixes now. We'll do the window at the end. So just going to grab my healing brush, I guess. Let's sample here on the wall. I'm just going to remove those hooks. They're just distracting. Few bits on the wall here and there. Let's fix that quickly. They're actually repainting the property as well. While I'm here, see a little bit of a discoloration here and it's annoying me, so I'm just going to fix that on the color layer. We have something here on the ceiling as well, so just remove these little bits that are visible from the fit view. Yeah, okay, I think that's decent. I'm just going to cut the window. It's fairly easy. Rectangular shapes are, I don't even bother with doing window pulls. And I've just noticed I have myself here in the window, so we'll have to go back and remove me after we do those selections. And for your regular, run-of-the-mill real estate photo shoots, you don't really need to do too much of a crazy editing, because you can spend a lot of time trying to perfect the image, and the agent will not notice things that you notice. So, all right, we've got a selection. I'm just gonna fill it with white, so Alt and backspace. And I don't know if you see it, but there's an area here where I'm in the photograph, so I'm just gonna go back to my flash layers and try and turn it on and off to see which one it is. It must be this one, yeah. So let's grab black brush and just remove myself here. And okay, it looks decent. Going to group everything, Control Alt Shift E to merge everything into a new layer. I'm just going to use Nik Color Effects again. Yeah, it's quite strong. Let's drop it to 60%. We can play with that stuff later on in Lightroom. Right, let's save that. Let's open our next image. Alright, as you can see, this one's very small as well. Right, so I got 2 layers, ambient layers. I don't really need it, but I took the brighter one for the left hand side where we have the that little wardrobe. And then we have a flash, and I think this is our base. I'm just going to reverse the order of the frames here. I've got my window frame. Let's drop it at the top, and all the other frames. All right. Just gently dabbing here. I should have dropped probably opacity, or sorry, the exposure on that a little bit, but I didn't, so I might just drop opacity because this one is quite strong. And we have the one on the other side. Also made it quite warm, to be honest. It's not bad, but okay, we've got ourselves in the mirror there. I think this was the frame for the wardrobe. Good hotspot here, so that was supposed to fix that hotspot. And I think we can also, oh no, I thought we can remove myself from the image here, but we can't. Do we need that? We don't really need this one. I'll just get rid of this frame. We don't need this one. Okay, do we have... First of all, let's remove my face from here. And I think, so let's make a selection in the mirror. I think the frame underneath looks decent, brighter. Yeah, that's not bad. So that's, yeah, that's our flash frame. Let's add hue saturation as usual and color range. Let me just zoom in there to see what's going on. Okay, that's a decent selection. Just going to desaturate. Actually, I kind of like it being desaturated on both. What I might do here is okay, let's duplicate that hue saturation. We'll use it later. So first one I want to do is for the ceiling. So I want the ceiling to be desaturated a little bit more. So I'm just going to drop to around minus 46%. Let's put in a group, add a black mask on that. And I'm going to make a rough selection around the ceiling using the polygonal lasso tool. Let's close that off and let's fill that with white. So that's Alt backspace. And then we have the other selection. So I'm going to put it in the group again. So that's the duplicated hue saturation. Let's add a black mask as well. And I'm going to press Control and click on the selection I made for the ceiling. I'm then going to press Control Shift I. It's gonna invert it. So now it's selected everything else. And I'm just going to paste white into the mask, and then the saturation I'll just drop slightly to maybe minus 10 to minus 15, I think, somewhere around there. So we're removing a little bit of that yellow color cast from the walls here. And yeah, I think that works. Let's group everything. So this is basically our flash frame. And then we have ambient and the bright ambient. I'm just going to put a black mask on the brighter ambient. Let's remove the selection. And I'm just going to gently paint in that cabinet. It's not like it's actually quite big in the frame here, but I wanted to have a fairly decent exposure. So, and that's enough here. Let's group it, change into luminosity. I think we can just drop the opacity. We don't really need to start masking. And as usual, I'll add the curves to give it a little bit of punch and contrast. I really prefer that contrasty look. Looks decent. Okay, let's cut in our window. Just gonna add a black mask. Right, this one has some little curtains here that are a bit more difficult to go around, but nothing we can't deal with. And usually for my feathering, I set it to 0.4, which gives me a pretty decent result. Yeah, all those masks are most time consuming, to be honest. Okay, all right, the bottom one is easy, very small. And Alt backspace again to fill it with our foreground color. And here we go. Okay, I'm going to press Ctrl Shift A for the camera raw filter. And I think I'm just going to add a little bit of green tint because it looks a little bit strong on magenta. Not sure if we need to make it a little warmer. Probably not. Let's leave it like that. Okay, very small change. All right, I think that's decent. Do we have anything that we need to fix? There's a few bits here on the wall. Oh, sorry, on the ceiling. Why not? Let's do a quick run. Pass through that. I'm surprised I didn't have any sensor dust here because I very often do get dust spots. Lately I've been cleaning my sensor quite a bit. Just find it very interesting that I haven't changed the lens and then suddenly there's a weird dust speckles on the sensor. I guess that's because the camera is not weather sealed. Okay, that's decent. I don't want to spend too much time on this one, so let's merge everything into a new layer and add our color effects. Okay, that is quite strong. Let's put 60%. I think we can deal with wardrobe in Lightroom when we do final adjustments. It is a little bit orange here, so I'm just looking at that mattress, and I think it also would need a little bit of a desaturation. But to be honest, it's good enough for the estate agent. Again, this is not a luxury property, so I think we're good here. Let's save that and let's open our next photo. Okay, bathroom. Could probably get away with just editing this photo and it'll be fine. Okay, in any case, this is our ambient here. We've got the hallway there, and then I guess this is our base. So I'm just going to reverse the order of layers. And it's quite tricky in those small bathrooms, you know. It's difficult to move around and you get reflections, you know, especially bathrooms, you get mirrors everywhere. Okay. Let's just move to the next one. And this one was taken to get a clean mirror. So I think what I'm going to do here is just do a cutout using a polygonal lasso tool, just so it's even. Let's fill that with white, and there's a background color, also control backspace. And while the selection is here, I'm just going to add curves adjustment, and it's going to create the mask based on our selection. So I don't even need to clip it anymore. I'm just going to increase our midtones or brightness in general. Okay, so that looks decent. And then we have the hallway, so I'm just going to change it to lighten mode. That looks decent. I usually like to turn it on and off to see kind of what it does. And as you can see, so we have the bright spot here and the bright spot here, which is a little bit distracting. So I'm just going to add a black mask, just put a very crude selection around it, and control backspace, fill it with white. And if it's too bright, we can just drop the opacity a little bit. And that looks decent. So we need to do some color correction. As I said, my 12 to 24 millimeter lens is very wide, and it's basically bulbous. So it's not flat lens, it's kind of round. I cannot even put any filters on it. And in all honesty, I think if I would have to buy a lens again, I would probably just stick to 16 to 35. I think it's way more versatile. 12 to 24 is really good for estate agents if you're doing small properties, bathrooms, things like that. You know, estate agents love it, but I mean, you can really see the stretching on the sides here. Anyway, where I was going with that is that I do get a lot of discoloration on the, where you normally get the vignetting, I get a discoloration. It's kind of like bluish. I don't know if you can notice it here, but there's like a bluish cyan tint, I would say. Not always, but specifically on the edges, and most of the time when I use the lights, it's not so visible. Like if I'll put the ambient layer here, you see there's not much problem with it, but with the flash, if I use lights, it kind of it can really affect it quite a lot. So yeah, anyway, where I was going with that, let's add hue saturation. I'll mark it, I'll make it ceiling. Let's get our color range. I actually selected everything. You see, it didn't even select this area because it was more bluish and cyan there. All right. Almost desaturating everything. All right, I think minus 35 looks okay. Let's add a black mask and do some selections here. So I think I'll just desaturate kind of the tiles as well. The toilet, That's all supposed to be more or less white color. The bathtub. Man, when you zoom in sometimes on those photos, you can see so much crap. You don't even really notice it that much when you're taking the photos sometimes, but then you start editing, you zoom in on things, and it's like lots of stuff there. Okay, gonna do a mirror here as well. And I'm excluding the little shower thingy here, just because it's a little bit of it's got a green tint to it, so I don't want to fully desaturate it. Okay. So let's fill that with white. So Alt backspace, and that removed quite a bit. Okay, I like it. I think we'll still need a color layer here. So what I'm going to do is let's sample color from those tiles. And because we desaturated only by, I think, 15 or something like that, you know, there's still that discoloration on the side here in the corner. So I'm just tapping it in just to make it even. And I'll do the same on this side here. So I'm just gently tapping, adding a little bit of that. Yeah, I think we might need to do a couple more cutouts here. So I think I'll use the ceiling in the mirror here as well to add it to our selection. And the ceiling here as well in the corridor. Let's just reset our colors with the, I'm going to use the paint bucket and add that in. Okay, and then while we're here on color, we've also got, I don't know if you see again, there's a little bit of greenish tint here on the right top corner. So I want to get rid of that as well. So let's make a little selection with our polygonal lasso tool around here. Very crude. Let's get our brush tool. I'm going to sample. So Alt, sample the color somewhere around here. I'm just going to gently paint that in. And it's better. And I think I can also see a little bit of that greenish discoloration here. So I'm going to do the same thing since we're already correcting the color. Decent. And then we just have to blend it. Oops. Let's drop it into luminosity. All right. So we can see our very common problem with having shadow here on our flash layer, and then the, okay, I think there's a little bit of a move in the frame. Yeah, but there's a little bit of discoloration because of that. So the shadow on the flash layer much stronger than the shadow on our ambient layer, and it's creating this thing. So we can fix it with the color layer, for example. But for the moment, let's just change it into difference mode so I can align this layer a little bit. Let's just nudge it down. Okay, and I think that already fixed it here. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. Okay, put it back in luminosity. I think actually what I will do is let's just add a black mask and let's just add it selectively. So I'm actually going to more or less avoid that area around the sink, just so we don't have to deal with it. The only thing is, now we have kind of uneven selection. So let's see if I add curves, kind of, if it's still going to look okay, or you see it's a little bit more problematic. So let's leave that. Just actually going to add a global adjustment. I'm just going to drop around our midtones area. We'll drop it down a little bit because it's a bit bright. Let's group that, make everything into a new layer, and I'm just going to add our Nik color effects. Whoa, that is crazy. Way too much, way too much. Funnily enough, it actually helps me notice more discoloration here. I'm not going to bother with it, but increasing that saturation actually shows you where the colors are really different. Same here around the toilet seat on the left, so that's not bad. Not bad to kind of figure out where you have those big problems in color casts. So we definitely need to drop opacity a lot on that. Maybe 40%. Yeah, 40% looks decent. And again, we can probably get it also fixed a little bit during our final pass in Lightroom. So I'm just going to save it, and let's open our next file here. The super very tiny bathroom. It was a very tiny bathroom, very difficult to deal with, especially if you have a flash. As I said, that poses a lot of problems. And if you add that you have a very wide angle lens on top of that, you have much less room because, to appear in the frame. If I would be shooting something at 35 millimeters, I can move much more in the frame without me being actually in the frame. But when you have 12 millimeters and combine it with a very small space, that's where it gets quite tricky. All right, we have our ambient, so we can remove the opacity or the visibility. And then I have 2 frames for outside, so we'll deal with that later. And I think this is our main or a base frame. So let's see what we can do. Okay, I thought the frame was misaligned, but actually it's okay. Okay. And this one, I was trying to see if I can get a clean frame of the mirror. So I basically put the flash, as you can see, just sitting on the floor, shooting straight up. Okay, let's. Gonna use polygonal lasso and I'll do a cutout. I'm kind of avoiding the area in the back, or the hallway, or the bedroom. Let's paste it in. And I'm just going to drop opacity, just to do a little bit of a blending here. I think one of the frames here is misaligned. Okay, yeah, so the one I was thinking is misaligned. Yeah, that's going to create a little bit of a problem, because I think we need a little bit of a rotation as well. Let's put it in difference mode. Okay. I think this is the closest we can get to it. Let's see. Yeah, I think it fixed that. All right, let's put it back to normal. Add the other one. Yeah, let's kind of fix it. It's a little bit of a, if you can see that. Yeah. We have to compromise here a little bit. Just going to remove that from selection, or maybe then I should add. Okay, let's just leave it. Not a big deal. Okay, let's put these two in lighten. Okay, I think actually let's put black masks on top. It's going to be easier. All right. I think we're somewhere around here. Let's see if we can do a little bit of color correction on the white areas. Okay. Going to desaturate everything here a little bit. Let's copy. And there's going to be a bit heavier desaturation, and I'm going to use it for the sink and the toilet and maybe the ceiling. So let's put that in the group, put a black mask. Let's do a little selection around here. And I'm just using the polygonal lasso and my pen tablet. Right, I'm going to include that here as well, just so there's no weird discoloration halfway through the tap. All right, let's do the ceiling. Although it actually looks pretty decent. Nothing. It's not crazy looking. Yeah, we have a little bit of funny discoloration on a couple of things here, but I think it's not a big deal. I don't think anyone will complain about that. Anyway, I'm already doing way more than I'm supposed to, really. Like, desaturating these things is really not that necessary here. But hey ho, we're already here, so let's fill it with white. And that is, just wonder if that's not too much. -20. So we're stacking it because the one underneath also drops it by -9. Might just drop our exposure here a little bit. I really think we'll need a color layer as well. If again, I don't really have to do this one because this is a very small bathroom, very run-of-the-mill apartment. The agent will not really care that much, but I do care sometimes. All right, maybe a little bit of color here. We have the hot spot. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it. That's enough. Let's drop our ambient into luminosity. Yeah, the sweet spot 50%. Very gentle adjustment here, adding a little bit of an S curve, not too crazy, because I already added a bit of contrast to the flash. And then obviously we're going to merge everything now, and we're also adding color effects. So that's why I didn't want to do too heavy curves on our ambient. Yeah, that's way too much. Let's try 50%. I think that's still a little bit heavy. How about 30? Wow, you know what? I still feel it's fairly heavy. We're actually, that contrast we added is pretty strong. Okay, that's decent. Let's save that.